This is an open letter to the Sane Society and Mr. Tucker Carlson and Mr. Steve Witkoff. Bravo, sir. Bravo, Mr. Witkoff. You're something else. I actually wrote this quote down. It was so good. The quote is, or something like it. It may not be verbatim, but or the president will take military action to prevent a war. That an end quote. Steve Witkoff. So, just it's a beautiful phrase because it really, it rhymes, but it doesn't reason. Or the president will take military action to prevent a war. It rhymes, but there is no reason. That means it's military action is war unless you don't expect a reaction. If it's military action with no reaction, that wouldn't be a war. A shock and awe situation. That wouldn't be a war. That would be military action. But so you're expecting to hit the natives and the natives not to hit back. Well, you expect much, sir. It's a very smooth sentence, but it really doesn't reason. Sort of like, and that's who you seem to be. You're very smooth, and you talk, you understand sense, so you talk sense when you have to, when you like to, with regards to, for example, Russia. Your position on Russia was perfectly realistic and perfectly doable, very reasonable. Hey, we have to sit down. We don't have to throw our feces at each other, and we don't have to throw nuclear weapons at each other. We can sit down and negotiate, and we each take a share of Ukrainian minerals, and we end it. That's very reasonable and very. So this is the smooth part, but the smooth part also understands has some kind of sense. Then with regards to Russia, very realistic perspective. But with regards to Middle East, Mr. Witkoff, I thought I put this in a way that may come closer to you. So basically what I'm saying, you already know. It's like I want to say that you should know that we know that you know that we know that we know that you know that you know that we know. You see, we all know. And forgive me for making these letters, but I don't mean bad. I mean well, because I've been reading Times and Newsweek and whatever material related to geopolitics since I was 14. Therefore, I'm making these comments. Here's the thing, Mr. Witkoff. Something that you're more associated with, what you have accepted to do with regards to the Middle East is that you have accepted to be the prosecutor who takes a letter of eviction to the Arabs on the Arabian Peninsula. You have chosen to take the position of the prosecutor who's accepted in taking the letter of eviction to the Arabs on the Arabian Peninsula, on a peninsula that is named after them. Like Gulf of Mexico. By the way, the reason it's called Gulf of Mexico is because actually Mexico has got more coastline. Mexico has got 2,500 miles or kilometers of coastline, and the United States has 1,600. So They're not equal, therefore it was named after them because it just makes more sense, I guess. My point is, beside the point, the point is about Arabian Peninsula belongs to the Arabs. It's in the name. You have taken the position of Israel is simple, that we are here to take land. Imagine us going back to this describing to you the imagery of what is your job. There is this apartment buildings of people living. You want to demolish it to build a new one. As a developer, this is what you do, right? So, but you go in and you have to evict these tenants, or these actually owners who didn't want to sell, those few that didn't want to sell. These are the Palestinians. These are the Arabs on Arabian Peninsula. You have taken this eviction notice to this building full of people still living in it, whatever the condition. But you got the sheriff circling the building and waiting so the natives would evict, so they can demolish it and build their own. So you're presenting the eviction notice. You got the sheriffs behind you. The first line are the Israelis, and behind them are all the rest of the white people, France, London, Paris, London, Frankfurt, and New York, and of course Washington. So all these folks are the second line behind the Israelis in order to evict the Arabs from Arab land, Arabs from Arabian Peninsula. In order to do that, and the funny thing is you said that, well, I haven't spoken with Hamas, but I tell Qataris, and Qataris, I don't know who they tell. Well, because the last heads of Hamas that you were speaking to, you killed them. They killed them. Israelis killed them. It's sort of like standing outside the big building that is about to be evicted, and if you keep telling them that, okay, send somebody out so we can speak to, and as soon as they send somebody out, you can negotiate with. The sheriff's behind you, blow his head off. Next, but who's your next leader? Send him out. Here's the thing, sir. The thing about your idea is like, yes, Netanyahu did the right thing and smashed their heads. Here's my experience in life, sir. I grew up in half the time I was on the farm. So you see shit in the farm that you don't see in a sterile city life. One of the things that you see is when you kill a chicken, if the guy's amateur kills a chicken, it's a shit show. When you take off the head, it's a very messy, shitty kind of situation in which a headless chicken starts running around behaving as a chicken would, but with a lot of fury and anger. So it's the worst thing to see, a headless chicken jumping around because of and the thing is, an idea, when they say the idea doesn't die, that's the thing. If there was an idea was important enough for human beings to gather together and form an organization behind it, then understand that idea is big enough that when you think you have removed the head, actually 5 heads emerges instead of the one, because there was a need. What is the need? You're trying to evict Arabs from Arabian Peninsula. You're trying to evict tenants who actually thought they owned their property because they were born in it. You're trying to evict them. Imagine that. Don't imagine a country, Palestine, Arabs on Arabian Peninsula. Imagine an apartment building, residential apartment building, in which, imagine the building has been passed down multiple generations and it's known that, that piece of land belongs to this guy because he has, title from 5 generations before him. Imagine such a thing is can be possible because people haven't moved, because it was okay. So the guy has 5 generations of deed that has father to son has passed down. He has it, but you evict him and say, fuck you, too bad. Evicted. You're trying to evict these tenants they thought they're owners because it has been down 5 generations, 10 generations, but somehow apparently they're not owners. Somebody's evicting them. This is how Gaza was formed. It wasn't such a big city from what I read. It was formed from whatever else Palestinians were evicted from other parts of Palestine, was forced into these areas, and then forced over those to the areas, and then maybe forced outside. Sir, your problem is not really Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iraq or Iran or India or Russia. Your problem is that you're Ashkenazi. You're a group of white Europeans who have chosen to be cowboys to the Arab Indians. Why you have chosen to do this, it's insane. Why you have chosen to, create an ethnically pure Ashkenazi state. I say Ashkenazis because, let's be frank. I mean, the Indian guy was walking around and they kept mistaking him for Arabs, so he was never welcome in any place in Israel because he was mistaken for an Arab. Or mistaken, or not mistaken. You're fucking brown, you don't belong here, get the fuck out. So, the guy was never, welcome in any bar or any... It's a very pure state. It's a purely white state. Let's be frank. Ashkenazi folks, you're white. I mean, I can't tell a difference between the physical features of an Ashkenazi and an Anglo-Saxon. I can't tell much apart. And probably neither can you, because in Germany a lot of they had to pull people's records to find out who is Jewish and who is not, because because of the mixtures of the population of Gaza mixed. I see a Jewish guy or a Nazi guy, I see them next to each other, the complexion is the same, the hairstyle is the same, they're more or less both Europeans. I'm not going to be able to, distinguish which one is the Jewish guy and which one is the Nazi guy. I can't distinguish. But I can tell for sure they're both Europeans. And, for the Indians, the same thing. I can tell for sure that you look at people, okay, these guys belong to South Asia. Pakistan, India, Malaysia, you look at Asian with the tight eyes, you can tell this is the Asian features. Let's go with that. I don't know which side is it, Vietnam or China, or is it right on the fucking border. I can't tell. They're the same more or less. So between the Ashkenazi, Anglo-Saxon, and we in the rest of the planet cannot tell you guys apart. And neither can you, because Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump is Christian, Jewish. You are okay with each other as well. So I'm not sure why one part of you is running away from the other part into Asia. Apparently you're doing well with each other. Why this necessity of settling the Ashkenazis in Asia and becoming cowboys to the Arab Indian? You're literally trying to evict these people from their lands. And you keep telling yourself that If we get over that, if we subdue the other ones, and if we subdue the other ones, we're going to bring peace. You can never bring peace by subduing the natives. You can bring more confusion by subduing the natives. What happens when you kill the leader? Okay, now they have 5 leaders, 5 factions that sometimes they're going to be fighting each other, sometimes they're going to be fighting you. When they stop fighting each other, they fight you. Sometimes between it, they fight you. You can never bring peace when you come from outside and subdue a group, the natives. Unless you're literally planning to eliminate all of them. Is it necessary? I mean, you know, everything is fine, was, fine. Why the necessity of creating a very, a white gated community on the south side of brown Asia? It's why the necessity of it? Unless you see a necessity in subduing the natives, being right on top of the natives. And would do the Ashkenazi enjoy that? The way you were describing, Mr. Witkoff, the way you were describing that, yeah, the horrible experience of people from October 7th. I was thinking to myself, yeah, yes. Here's the thing, sir. Please watch the small series called A Lonesome Dove. That's pretty much, I think, the experience of the frontier was described more or less truthfully in Lonesome Dove. Ruined lives of both sides when the white Europeans were pushing through to the west. It was ruined life and misery and shit. Their whole process, the whole process of ethnically cleansing a land, one race ethnically cleansing the land from another race, which has been on it for a couple of 100 generations, I guess, as far as the Redskins war on North America. That whole process is a very grueling, grimy process. And I always wonder, why would the Ashkenazi accept that grueling, grimy process that we already know it's a bloody process? Because, and that was the funny part, that I was watching Tucker Carlson sitting in front of Mr. Witkoff, and here is a guy, Tucker Carlson, sitting there. I would get back to the grimy process of evicting the Arabs from those Arab neighborhoods that they were born in. On the other side of the table, Tucker Carlson is listening to you, Mr. Witkoff, and he's the guy who's complaining about all these new Arabs and new black people and new brown people and new Arabs and new this and new that coming to his neighborhood, changing the demography of his neighborhood. That's what, all the right have started screaming, because that they like it as it is. They don't want their demography of their neighborhood to change by the import of all these homeless people, the Arabs and the blacks and the this and the that. And here across the table is Stephen Witkoff, who is accepted the job of presenting more Arabs with their eviction notice. And it was just so interesting, so fun to watch you guys trying to come to the same conclusion. One is trying to push Arabs out of Arabian Peninsula, and one has had enough of having more Arabs added to his neighborhood. And please don't tell me there is a third option. We can't send the Arabs to Afghanistan. You can try to send these Arabs to Afghanistan. Okay, fine. How long do you think they're going to last in Afghanistan? Here's the thing, sir. When you uproot people, they will go to now that they are uprooted, they try to go for multiple generations, they try to go to the best place they can find. Because once you uprooted people, they have no attachment to the land. They will continuously move. Unless, because, the place you were born in, that's why they call it the mother tongue, that's where usually people want to stay. Unless you uproot them. Once you uproot them, this is how you can imagine, Mr. Stephen Witkoff. Imagine, where does a homeless man go? A sane homeless man doesn't go in the middle of forest and be homeless there because he knows there is no food there, and it's going to be a death sentence in the middle of forest. So what does a homeless man do? The smart ones go and become homeless next to a castle. They find a castle right in the middle of the city and become homeless over there. So at least, I guess, they can live off the scraps. Maybe the owner of castle takes pity on them and houses them. Maybe they give him a job worth doing so he can house himself next to the castle or nearby the castle. Anyway, what the homeless man who's sane knows is that he has to be in the center of population, because at least he can feed himself with the scraps of the population. Scrappy jobs, scrappy living. At least there is something in the center of population for sustenance. There's nothing in the middle of the fucking jungle. And that started with the industrialization, continuation of industrialization. Now it has become a little less problematic when people can make a living outside the centers of population as well. So people may move apart a little. But my point is this, that when you uproot the Arabs, Mr. Stephen Witkoff, when you uproot the Arabs, and has been your policy of Israel, when you and Mr. Tucker Carlson sat down at the beginning and said, yes, it's good to sit down and talk and see where we want to go. What's the final destination we want to reach? And I was very excited because your final destination is on exactly the opposing side. One of you is trying to evict Arabs, and one of you is trying to, not have more Arabs up his ass in Maine. And I was very excited because I thought, oh, here we go. There is going to be a clash here, but apparently you just missed each other and there was no clash. You're trying to achieve two opposing things. You don't want Arabs in Arabian Peninsula, and Mr. Tucker Carlson certainly doesn't want Arabs in his neighborhood. More Arabs. Okay with the ones who are already, but no more Arabs. And what you two don't understand is once you uproot these Arabs, they're not going to stay in Egypt or Jordan. They will do whatever they have to do in order to go maybe to Turkey, then from Turkey maybe to France or England or Finland or Sweden, and maybe from there to United States. Why? Because that's the safest place. That's the castle. If you're homeless, once they made you homeless, you want to go live next to the castle. You don't want to fucking become homeless from from Arabian Peninsula, that would be the Palestinian, and go live in Afghanistan. Salute. Which one of them is going to stay? Which one of them is going to stay? After you look back after 10 years, I have a feeling only maybe 20% are left. Wherever you send them. That's why you have so many Arabs in Europe. Because these are the descendants. It doesn't even have to be within one generation or two generations. It could be within 5 generations. Still, once you uprooted them, people don't put new roots down anywhere you throw them. Once it's uprooted, it's uprooted. And the question is why? If the Ashkenazis want to go live there between the Arab population. Or better yet, let the Arab population live between you. I don't care how you call it, what you call it, but this segregation is costing a lot of money and lives. This segregation that you're trying to enforce. You just had a desegregation process in the west side of Atlantic, and right away you went into a segregation process in the east side of Atlantic. Literally around the same years that desegregation laws came into effect in the United States, the segregation laws went into effect in Israel, and before that in South Africa. Sort of, these are all the same segregation laws. It has to be segregated, Ashkenazi one side, Arabs on the other side. Now let's go in and mow them down. I guess what they call them. When you say, okay, the Persians cannot have nukes, okay, because, and then you qualify it, and you say because nukes will give them outweighed influence. Outweighed against whom, sir? The understanding is, you as a white guy from Bronx, you think that a brown guy, a Persian guy, should not have an outdo influence on the Persian Gulf. It's sort of, and when somebody asks you who should have more influence in the Persian Gulf, you say that, of course, United States. And, and then when the question of, okay, so how we are going to pay for it comes up, it's sort of like, oh, we don't know, but why don't these fucking natives pay for it? So you want to have the influence, but you want the natives to pay for it. Sort of like the airport in Qatar. This is what you want, which you actually bragged about it, and you say that Qataris are paying for our airbase in Qatar. We are not. Don't you see that a little, why? Why do they feel the need to, need protection? Why they're behaving in such a subdued manner, and you don't accept that even, and you are sort of like, no, not even that is good enough. We want to actually come in and take from you. It's a come on. You showed that anybody who doesn't have nuclear weapons, you don't respect, and you eventually invade. We saw that. It's like nobody can have independence. You all have to be subdued to us. It went so far as, let's go subdue the Russians. That was it. That's why it was interesting to see so many sides of you, that you show your reasonable side when you understand that the other side has nuclear weapons. But then, if the other side doesn't have nuclear weapons, we see your cowboy side. That we have to go in and evict them, because thankfully none of them have nuclear weapons, so we can evict them. And if any of them try to get nuclear weapon, we will come down hard, smash them, and send them back to the Stone Age before the nuclear weapon, because they need to be subdued. Because we need to be in charge. Because I mean, nothing but racial superiority explains the final destination. Sort of like, we are racially more superior, and if we have to eliminate other races in order to expand our reach and spread our influence, we will do it. We will eliminate other races in order to spread ourselves. Literally, Israel is a big spread, both financially and militarily, but the big spread of white people into West Asia, just like the war over Hong Kong and the opium war on East Asia. Europeans just going and guns blazing. Everybody has to be subdued. I mean, I don't see the Chinese trying to keep passing Chinese ship in the English channel, the English Channel. I don't see many Chinese ships trying to, participate in freedom of navigation maneuvers. But I see a lot of, white people's ships trying to, somehow show freedom of navigation by passing between Taiwan and China. Sort of like, I'm sorry, we don't come up your ass over there. Why are you up our ass over here? Why can't logically be a logical distribution of dominance between these regions where China is dominant, obviously? Others have to, be in a subdued position because that's the natural order of things. Not subdued that's how they prevent being invaded, by, trying to live peacefully with the big guy. That's how you don't get raped by the big guy, is if you try to, come to some sort of understanding with the big guy. Hey, I read your letters, big guy, don't rape me. Since you can't read, I read your letters, you don't rape me. You protect me. This is how it goes. But you're trying to tell the Filipino guys that no, China is not the big guy, we're the big guy. In that region, do you have more white people in Asia? Do you have more Christianity in Asia? Do you have more? I don't know what are white people doing in Asia? Anywhere in Asia? Well, East Asia is yellow skin, and we all recognize them with their tight eyes. And West Asia is brown people's land, and we recognize them by their crass behavior. None of it. Ashkenazi belong to, north side of earth, where there is less sunshine, because they're all very white, porcelain. You look at Jared Kushner and he's porcelain white. You can't tell me he's not of the white race. Are you kidding me? So, my point is this, Mr. Witkoff. I admire your zeal to do something, but I'm afraid you're just giving the Arabs the same letter of eviction that Arabs have been been tried to force to, handed to, for the past 70, 80 years, in order to create a segregated society of Ashkenazis on one side and Arab on the other side. Now the Arabs on the other side should go a little back or front, doesn't matter. We should push them into Egypt and push them into Jordan, who eventually will find their way into and become residents of Maine and Nevada and California and New York and Miami. These Arabs, Bukele, he's of Lebanese. Eventually he ended up in, they ended up in Honduras, or El Salvador, sorry. They ended up, his family, Bukele, ended up in El Salvador, and now he's president. But obviously these were not the really poor Lebanese that ended up in El Salvador and stayed. These were probably the rich Lebanese who ended up in El Salvador, and right away they started businesses and put down roots. But most people that you drive out, like the Palestinians, with the clothes on their back and no riches, all of them will end up in New York. Eventually. It may take multiple generations, but they will find a way to be in London, Paris, or New York, or, next to white folks. Why? Because it's safe. Because white folks don't want to bomb themselves. So living next to the castle, the king of town, in the white people's land is very safe. Because, it's the white people who keep bombing everybody else. So everybody else decides that let's go to the white people's countries because that seems to be safe. That's why I'm saying that Arabs don't feel safe in Afghanistan, will not feel safe in Egypt, these Palestinians, because they feel Egypt is going to be next. So where do we go, Baba? God willing, we will go to Birmingham. And they want to go there not to do any harm, just to be safe from white people. So you go and put roots down right next to white people. Then you're safe. Salute. Now why the Ashkenazi have volunteered to take up roots from where they're between white people and they are also white and they can pass as white and everybody can. Why Ashkenazis decide to pick up roots from Brooklyn and go into somewhere between brown people? And you're thinking to yourself, you are safe, you're between white people and you are white and you're doing okay in Brooklyn, but somehow you think you should pick up roots from Brooklyn and go to where you're not okay between brown people who you're forcefully taking over the land, you're evicted from the land. Why would you want to do that? Everybody wants to be safe. Why the Ashkenazis have volunteered for this, I'm not sure. Unless, there are evidence that they have been mistreated by other white people, so now they're mistreating the brown people. That makes a lot of sense. And this is what I said when I was talking about eviction, Mr. Witkoff. Imagine you're standing in front of an apartment complex trying to evict these people, and every time they send you say we need somebody to negotiate with, and they send out somebody and they say, and Israelis blow his head off before you even get to negotiate. And the next one, and then they stop sending anybody out for negotiation, and then you have to find another negotiator to negotiate with them, and you keep moving apart because you feel there is no repercussions by just telling the Arabs to leave Arabian Peninsula. When you push these Arabs from Arabian Peninsula into Egypt, you're actually pushing them into North Africa. you're actually moving them to another continent. You know, Egypt is Africa and Palestine is Asia. They have no roots in Jordan. All the Palestinians that you have sent to Jordan during the past 75 years, it will take multiple generations, but they will reach Europe because they can't go to Palestine. There you have uprooted them. They will reach Europe or better yet, North America. It's not necessarily really, because the native culture is eliminated. Not eliminated, the native culture moves overseas to other countries in Europe. It kind of dilutes their native culture and all this diversity slowly goes away. One of the attractions of this fucking planet is the diversity. When you say finish this conflict with dialogue with regards to the Arabs on the Arabian Peninsula, when you say finish, that means basically they accept the eviction notice from you and they leave. That's what you mean when you say, you know, we have to eventually, we like to finish this with dialogue. The dialogue that you understand is a dialogue of, because you have been a landlord, you know, a lawyer, a landlord, a very smooth guy. The dialogue is that you understand is we are the bigger power, we have the bigger penis. We tell you what we want and you execute it. End of story. This is what you expect of the Palestinians, the Arabs on the Arabian Peninsula. And again, you can eliminate all those you can start a puppet show. Basically keep the leaders that agree with you as puppets and eliminate those leaders that don't agree with you as bad people. You can do that. But again, let's sit down and think at what we want to achieve at the very end. Do you want to have a puppet show in West Asia? Who does it serve? I have a feeling it doesn't even serve your interest, Mr. Witkoff. I read that, unfortunately, I just read a piece of news that your son have you know, you've lost your son to some activity that, let's be frank, associated with money and associated with sadness. Sir, to do good, you have to really, if you want to do good with regards to that area of the world that, you know, you decrease the sadness of the world, as the case was with your son, you have to make the Israelis understand that they have to open the doors and become desegregated. Become desegregated. And in fact, not the Hamas, but the Israelis have to disarm. If you really want me, the Israelis have to disarm and say, yes, we are some Israelis here, we are some Ashkenazi here, we like to live here, we have our own cities and we send our own representatives to the parliament, and Arabs have their own cities and they send their own representatives to the parliament, and somehow we try to fucking manage this shit show without killing each other. And some kind of a, you know, elected representative. You like election, but you don't like to mix. That's the whole idea of gerrymandering. Israel is a gerrymandered piece of Ashkenazi real estate that this gerrymandering has, you know, given it to gerrymandered Asia and cut a piece for a group of Europeans, Ashkenazi Europeans. Why they have come, and that's, you know, I just don't even want to go there. But the point is this, that The only solution is desegregation of Israel. Have a declaration, just like it needs a good leader in Israel to say, hey, enough is enough. Fuck. I don't mind having an Arab neighbor. In fact, I go and live in Gaza myself. If you find an Israeli, an Israeli president who was willing to go and live in the middle of Gaza between the Arabs, that's it. Live there between them, and don't spit on them, and don't piss on them, and don't try to kick them out. Just live there, right next to, in the middle of them. I guarantee, logic will guarantee his life. And the idea is to say, yes, for every Israeli that comes and lives here, one Arab can go and live in Israel. That's how you desegregate. You either open the doors and just tell people to don't shoot at each other, and go and go through some court system to see if any legitimate, claim is on the land by any Arab. But this is not what you're doing. You're doing exactly the opposite of this. Even in the West Bank, your settlers, they are behaving exactly as the European settlers behaved in North America. We all can see it. Everybody in the world can see that Israeli settlers are behaving exactly like the cowboys were behaving in North America. And all to the same end, to push the natives out. And please don't tell me that Israelis are the real natives. After a couple of thousand years, who's the real native? I can be a real native of Africa. I was about 15,000 years ago. My ancestor probably, I guess 20,000, 50,000 years ago, my ancestor was a native of Africa. That doesn't mean I can go claim some African land today. Yeah, when you say peace program in Gaza, that's the peace program. It's not actually in Gaza. The peace program has to be in Israel. Desegregation. Say, hey, we are not worried about the Arabs. They can come live here. In fact, some Israelis will go live in the middle of Gaza. If they go live there in a tent right there next to the locals, and they start building together, I can assure you the locals will not shoot at them. Israelis who go in to live and help with Palestinians eat from the same table, I can assure you that the Palestinians will not harm them. As long as you also allow the Palestinians to live, actually. Go back to Israel and live on their land. I don't care what you call it. Continue calling it Israel. Who cares? But the conflict is you don't want Arabs to live between you, because they overwhelm your demographic and suddenly you go into minority, but you still want democracy. Okay, have democracy, go into minority. Logic doesn't know minority from majority. To minority, the whole idea of multi-party system is that 2 or 3 or 4 parties get together, and the logic between them wins and the illogic loses. So they make better decisions. That's why the whole Democratic and Republican Party system doesn't work in the United States, is because it's a uniparty and they both always more or less make the same decision and the same mistakes. So at least the Russia mistake is so obvious that at least one side saw it. Thank God for that. We are a few days longer can exist on this planet without a nuclear war. But there is one peace program can be done in the Middle East. Desegregate Israel. Right now it's segregated, desegregated, you have peace. End of story. If this is the peace if you want peace, but if you want, continuous war for the next couple of 100 years, please continue. Have Israel create more buffer zone, have more land, more buffer zone, more land, more buffer zone, more land, and the same way the West was won. It was won, but was it worth it? I don't think so. With regards to the diversity perspective on your planet, that the more diversity, the better. It's with that regards, no. I think there was a loss here. So many tribes. There were apparently, at least just in North America, they killed 110, 20 million, I believe, redskins of different varieties and different tribes. That there was much more diversity. So my point is this: that, sir, peace over there. Leave Asia to Asians, and if you insist on living there as Ashkenazi, you understand that you are going to be in minority in Arabian Peninsula. The Ashkenazi can live peacefully on Arabian Peninsula as long as they understand that they're going to be a minority. Or else, why the fuck would you want to go over there, live as a minority between a bunch of Arabs? I don't want to go live as a minority between a bunch of Arabs. Why would you leave Brooklyn and Bronx and go to live between a bunch of Arabs on the Arabian Peninsula? When you refer to that, these people who are held captive and who were killed, and yes, I can assure you that the frontier life is not fun. It's frontier life is shitty, it's gruesome, it's bloody. It's a frontier life. Why would somebody leave Brooklyn, the baristas in Brooklyn and Bronx, and go to the frontier to do what? It must have been a horrible experience, because when you're at the frontier trying to push the natives out of their land, the natives are going to push back. So it would be ridiculous for you not to expect any pushback from the natives. Your problem is not the Hamas. Your problem is you're trying to evict Arabs from Arabian Peninsula, who are going to end up being neighbors to Tucker Carlson, who's going to hate it. Not because he hates Arabs, but because he dislikes the change in demographics around him, because it will change the whole milieu. So, and nobody can blame him for that. Not everybody is made for different milieus. People like different environments, just like people like different music. It's understandable. So leave the fucking Arabs alone. And this is when you said, but again, this is the part that you understand Russia and how things work over there, and you express it in a smooth manner. But then when you turn to the Middle East, you suddenly sort of like all common sense leaves. You say, I don't have a negotiating partner because they don't send one, because we just killed the previous ones. But then you don't you seems like you just can't get there, that once you cut the head from a snake, it grows 5 more. This is where the analogy doesn't work with regards to cutting the head of an animal or cutting the head of an organization. The analogy doesn't work. You're not cutting the head of the snake. You're cutting the head knowing that all the heads of the departments that was working under this motherfucker, all of those heads of those departments, now they are a leader in their own right. Now you had one organization, now you have 5. And then you have confusion and a lot of the shit show that happens after you cut the head off, a lot of unproductive activities, lashing out. So those 5 different department heads, up to this point, they only had to listen to this one. Now there are 5, and they don't want to listen to each other. So yes, it's going to be, some of them are going to be more hardline, some of them are going to be less hardline, some of them are going to start blowing shit up, some of them are, you see what I'm saying? Because now you have 5 heads who may not work well, not all of them would be working well. So now you have chaos and confusion on Arabian Peninsula, or more of it, and you sold this as peace. You got more peace. You insist on bringing more peace in Syria. Now there is no Syrian president. The Sunnis have got their own president, the Alawites have got their own head of state, and that's the same thing that happened in Libya. Each one of these tribes have come up, they have their own head. They come up with their own head because you killed the main head. You remove the main head. A 5-year-old understands this, and I'm sure you understand this, Mr. Witkoff. No disrespect, sir. All respect. It's all respect. You understand this. You remove from an organization is not like an animal. You cannot. A human organization, any organization, head of state, when that's why the chain of command is very purposefully understood and written down, because in order to not kill one and end up with 5 heads of state, you want the chain of command, and to make sure that even if 1 is killed or 2 is killed or 3 is killed, at least there is a 4th guy who wasn't killed, so the system will remain a system. But it seems the purpose of Israel, the purpose of white people in West Asia, is to remove the heads. Remove the heads, hoping to subdue the population by removing the heads. This is what's the ultimate objective is. Hoping to subdue the population by removing those heads who don't agree with us. You can do that, but as I explained, the resentment doesn't go away. The animosity doesn't go away. You just killed 100,000 of them, Arabs on Arabian Peninsula, and trying to evict the rest, 2 million of them, the rest of them, Arabs on Arabian Peninsula, who are going to end up with as Tucker Carlson's neighbor. You're trying to do that by decapitating the heads and then saying that, okay, that nobody's there to negotiate with. They have grown 5 heads, more confusion, more chaos, and then the white people point to the Arabs and you say, oh, you see how chaotic they are? You see how uncivilized they are? You see how chaotic it is? Just like a chicken, when you cut its head off, it's going to become chaotic, runs around, headless chicken, if you have seen it, it's one of the most disturbing sights ever. A headless chicken running around after you have removed its head. Kicks around and runs around and flies around. Imagine that continuous, it doesn't stop. Imagine that it doesn't stop. You have a headless chicken, keeps running around and trashing about, and it doesn't stop. This is what happens when you remove the head of Hamas. When you remove the head of Hezbollah, this is the head that you can really negotiate with. And there is no negotiation, sir. You can't evict them. They were born there. The only way you can evict them is if you kill them. If you do evict them, they're going to end up with Tucker Carlson, which makes Tucker Carlson pissed off. And then eventually, there's going to be a whole bunch of witch hunts as a continuation of this policy. You send Arabs to the white countries, and the white countries, the Arabs trashed about. because you cut their heads off, you removed them, you uprooted them, and then you cut their heads off, the heads of their state off, and then you uprooted the common man, and the common man has ended up in white countries. And there is a backlash by white people that, hey, what the fuck is this? We respect their culture, but why isn't their culture in my neighborhood? Wasn't in their culture? Why is, the culture of Gaza is not in Gaza? Why is it ending up in Brooklyn? And it's sort of like, oh, because it was uprooted from Gaza, and then it was uprooted from Iraq, and then it was uprooted from Jordan, and then, again, when you uproot people, they try to go and live next to the castle. Not your castle, maybe your neighbor's castle. Maybe not your neighbor's castle. Don't uproot people. The solution is don't uproot people. You want to add to their population? Go ahead. Add yourself to their population. Even become a citizen. But don't uproot the people who are already living there. That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for 80 years of war. Because you're trying to uproot people who have been living there. This is the part, Mr. Steven Witkoff, this is the part that I say that this is the part that I say it seems with regards to the Russian, you're very logical, but when it comes to regards to the Arabs, you're like, yeah, why don't you hit the road? Either leave here, this land, this is your eviction notice, a bunch of white people sat around and wrote your eviction notice. You brown people here in West Asia. Either leave the premise, or you're going to die in the premise. Which one do you want? Knowing that these guys leaving the premise, they're going to end up in European countries or North American countries because those are the safest countries. Because these are white people who have been bombing the brown people for a very long time. But, they are not the ones, they never bomb themselves. So any white country will do. That's the thing. Any part of NATO would do. If you settle down, this is the understanding of a Palestinian who has been uprooted from Palestine. Who's got the biggest dick? I want to go sleep in his bed. Who? NATO. All the NATO's countries got together. Who are they? A bunch of white people. They got together and they got the safest countries because they are the ones who keep banging everybody else. Assuming they don't bang themselves, we want to go live with them. Put roots down next to white people because it's safe. And I love that when Tucker said we want to talk beforehand but we never continued. He said we want to talk beforehand to make sure what the outcome that we want, we get the outcome that we want. If where you're going is, the outcome is going to be very upset neighborhood in West Asia, upset with white people in general, a lot of uprooted, resentful Arab people who are going to end up in Europe and North America. Eventually, maybe it will take 5 generations. Uprooted people, the resentment from the natives, resentment from the rest of the planet. Fucking, they got a vote in United Nations. It was United Nations against Israel and United States with regards to how this land grab is being expedited. And so what is the outcome that you want? You want uprooted Arabs spread all over the world, especially in North America and Europe. You want more brown people, more black people. Continue as you've been doing. Sell weapons, use weapons yourself, sell weapons to them to use against each other. Do whatever you can to uproot more of them. and then you're going to sooner or later you're going to be on the receiving end of a lot of them. What do you want? What do you expect? And then you wonder why these motherfuckers want to get nuclear weapons, because it seems you only understand the reason if the other side is as crazy and powerful as you are. If the other side is not as crazy and powerful as you are, you don't allow them any right, any respect. No right, no respect. Respect only comes with power. That's the part that you should understand, that there are many, more powerful beings, outside of your planet, that they can vaporize you in a blink of an eye. Vaporize the whole fucking planet in a blink of an eye. But, they wonder, they believe that why destroy diversity? As Earth and humans and other life on the planet, and so elimination of Earth is and all beings on it is not that difficult. It's just that the idea is diversity is better. It's more entertaining. While we are living, diversity is diversity is better. Is because it's more entertaining. But not no diversity up my ass. That's the whole point. You want to go see the Arabs when you want to go vacation and see the Arabs. If you don't want to see Arabs, you live in Brooklyn or you live in Frankfurt. But when you want to see Arabs, you go to Arabian Peninsula and see Arabs for as much as you can stand them, and then you go back to Frankfurt. That's the whole point of diversity. You keep the diversity and you visit once in a while. That's why diversity is entertaining, and the point of this life is entertainment. It's sort of like a life without entertainment is not a life. That's why even prisoners find, solitary confinement unbearing, because it's the one kind of confinement that you cannot entertain yourself in any way. Even watching other people is entertaining. So in solitary confinement, they remove anything that can be entertaining to you from the room. That becomes the ultimate punishment beside death. So that means entertainment is the only thing that makes life bearable. And you want diversity for entertainment, for the sake of entertainment, to make life bearable. But you're trying to make, West Asia look like New Jersey by migrating a bunch of people from New Jersey and Brooklyn and Bronx to West Asia, and create a New Jersey kind of feeling. As to why you want to do it, you already have a New Jersey, you already have a Brooklyn, you already have a Bronx. Why do you need to create another New Jersey, another Bronx in West Asia? That's the thing. It's like when it comes to nuclear weapon, you respect people. You have to respect people who have nuclear weapons, but you don't want to respect the Arabs or the Iranians. So you say no, they shouldn't have nuclear weapons. Well, if you give them respect without nuclear weapons, if you gave them respect without nuclear weapons, then they wouldn't see a new need for a nuclear weapon. But you have proven that you only respect those tribes who do have a nuclear weapon, or two, or three, or four. You have shown by your act, not your word, but by your action, you have shown that you only respect the other side if it has nuclear weapons. And I mean, some of your people were going overboard and trying not to respect the other side, even if they had nuclear weapons. That's the whole debacle with Russia. So we don't want to respect them even if they have nuclear weapons. So we came back a little back towards sanity. It's like, oh no, we should respect them because they have nuclear weapons. Thank God for that. But the other idea is that you shouldn't respect them just because they're human. But you don't do that. You have unfair trade practices, you want to own their mineral wealth, you want to own, you at least be a partner or get a piece of action of their oil wealth and the mineral wealth and real estate wealth. You need to continuously get a piece of action of everybody. And then at the same time, not give a piece of action, your action, to anybody. The whole thing has a gangster kind of aroma to it. It's all about body count and piece of action, and I got my posse and you got your posse, and we're gonna go together, we're gonna form a joint posse. It's just you know, it's not a, let's just say it's not a healthy way of looking at life and your purpose in life. It's not a healthy way of looking at it. The purpose of it in life is, you know, you try to keep your sanity and entertain yourself until you die. Naturally, hopefully, of natural causes. But there is no other purpose here. And by removing diversity, you're removing entertainment. By removing diversity, you create a militarized atmosphere, police atmosphere that kills all the entertainment that one can have in life. This militarized, worried, fearful, you know, we have to get them before they get us, this cowboys and Indians kind of mentality is taking the fun out of life, out of all the entertainment that life can be. It's just, you know, I mean, look at it this way, Mr. Witkoff. If you really want entertainment, walk down these bazaars, you know, in an anonymous way. Don't walk down in a bazaar with your posse. Walk down in a bazaar in Pakistan without a posse and somehow, you know, dress like locals and just walk you cannot find a more entertaining environment than going to one of these, you know, backward countries and going to the, you know, the shittiest place that you think they exist, going out there anonymously and walking amongst them. It's very entertaining. You know, I always, you know, I go to the, you know, the cheap restaurants just to get a feel of that environment. You don't get the feel of the environment in expensive restaurants, because expensive restaurants are, you know, everywhere. Expensive restaurants are more or less the same. Because, you know, rich people, you know, uh, more or less expect the same kind of environment, because because you're rich and entitled, so you expect the same kind of service. And the better with entertainment is going to places, to the worst raised restaurants of each area, and see what the locals worst or dirtiest restaurant. It doesn't have to be the worst restaurant, it has to be the most humble restaurant. And sometimes a lot of good food comes out of humble places. But my point is this, that you want that diversity to entertain yourself. You want to make everywhere look like track houses, look like New Jersey. You have to go back to the New Jersey examples, should be familiar to you. It just, and for what? Because you're more comfortable with it? I'm sorry, then why are you in West Asia? If you're comfortable with New Jersey, you should be in New Jersey. Why are you in West Asia trying to make West Asia to your comfort? Europeans, white people from Europe and North America have gone to West Asia trying to make West Asia the way that they're comfortable with, i.e. Ashkenazi, white, Jewish environment. Didn't you have this environment back home? You don't want to experience something new? You have this environment that already exists in Brooklyn. The Arabs are the entertaining part, or else without Arabs you have Brooklyn in Israel. Sir, if you really want to be mentioned in the history books, Mr. Witkoff, advocate for desegregation of Israel. If President Trump really, because for 80 years, all these presidents who went and came, they're not going to be mentioned at all with regards to Israel in the history books, because they went the same way. They all went the same way. And the whole idea of two-state solution, what state? Two-state, two-state, three-state, five-state solution, doesn't matter. Israel does not recognize any state over there. That's why they keep bombing one after the other, because Israel does not recognize the existence of any state. It's like, we recognize only the state of Israel, the rest of you motherfuckers, we don't recognize your sovereignty, so we bomb you at will. End of story. So there is no two-state, three-state solution or five-state solution. There is, Israel does not recognize Arabs having sovereignty over their land unless those Arabs are, are in bed with Israel. And that's the whole idea, that we have this Ashkenazi gated community. We want to keep it pure, segregated, and we keep all these Arabs under our heel. They heal or we eliminate them. You can do that, but understand that in physics, Mr. Witkoff, you can keep an segregated condition or uneven condition or unfair condition. You can keep it only under pressure. So the moment you stop the pressure, the system goes back to equilibrium. So if you want to disturb the equilibrium, if you want to say that this is not an Arabian peninsula, this is the Ashkenazi ruled peninsula, you're going against the natural order of things. There are 100 times more Arabs than there are Ashkenazi. And this is where they were born, on Arabian Peninsula. If you want to put them under the Ashkenazi, or in control of Ashkenazi, or Ashkenazi being the dominant power on Arabian Peninsula, if you want to go against the natural order is the people who are greater in numbers, and whose peninsula is named after them, the natural order is that these people should be in charge of Arabian Peninsula. Arabs should be in charge of Arabian Peninsula. You're trying to force the Arabs to understand that no, they should not be in charge of Arabian Peninsula, but Ashkenazi should be in charge of Arabian Peninsula, the dominant party on Arabian Peninsula, the party with nuclear weapons on Arabian Peninsula. You're trying to force this will down the Arab throat. So your problem is not the Iranians. Your problem is always going to be the same problem, and that is Arabs really don't like to be dominated by Ashkenazi. This is not going to go away. It didn't go away with when Iraq, Saddam Hussein was overthrown. We created more groups, and a lot of those groups who hated you before, hated Israel before, hate Israel now. But now they're not really under one central command, they're all under multiple heads. You increase the problem. Organizations are human organizations which are created, comes about from human needs. The human organizations that are created by human needs, like the system of governance, is not going to go die after you cut its head off. They find another guy, put it in his head. Maybe they introduce them to you, maybe they don't introduce them to you, but after you kill a couple of their heads that they have come up with, next ones they don't introduce them to you. Now the snake hasn't gone away, the organization hasn't gone away, it's just got a head that you don't know. Now what? And it's not that you don't know the solution is Arabs don't want to leave their land. Sir, Mr. Witkoff, if you want to be mentioned in history books, you advise and you enforce Israel to desegregate. Yeah, I know that's a taboo and nobody can talk about it, but yeah, peace. If you want to be mentioned in the history books, and if Trump wants to be mentioned in the history books, that's the only solution. The solution is not in Gaza. The solution is Israel. Israel has to be desegregated before it turns into it has turned into South Africa. The white African South Africa is Israel. Israel is white African government of South Africa. White people trying to enforce their will on the native people. Solution, the same thing they did in South Africa. Desegregation. You do that and war stops tomorrow. All this financing of war stops tomorrow. All this bloodshed stops tomorrow. Sir, you know this and I know this and we all know this. I want to say this so we understand, you and Tucker Carlson and Mr. Trump and President Trump and everybody, we're all on the same page. Segregation doesn't work. It didn't work in Alabama. It will not work in Jerusalem. And once you desegregate, then the reason for violence goes away. Please understand that we understand that the whole reason behind the violence is the segregation. Don't tell me that, oh no, we cannot desegregate with these animals, they will come and blow us up. No, the reason for the blowing up part was the segregation. If everybody had one man, one vote, everybody has rights, equal rights, when there's desegregation, then the reason for blowing up part also goes away. You see, Mr. Witkoff, we understand. You should understand that we understand. I know, and that you know, you should know that I know that once the system becomes desegregated, then the reason behind all the violence goes away from the Palestinian side. You keep saying Israel is defensive. Israel is defensive. Israel is implementing a segregation policy. There's a backlash by the locals, and Israel says we have to kill the natives to defend ourselves. The backlash from the natives is because of the segregation policies. Stop the segregation policies, and the reason for violence goes away, and the reason for the retaliation of Israel against violence also goes away. The starting problem, Mr. Tucker Carlson, is the segregation. Maybe Israel should be advised to, hey, here's a thought, why don't you desegregate? Accept Arabs back into your society. And once you do that, don't worry, they're not going to blow themselves up, because the reason behind the natives' violence was because they were segregated from their cities, their areas, their towns. The solution is simple, Mr. Witkoff. The solution is very simple. You know it, and I know it, and you should know it, that I know it, that we know it, that you know it, that they know it. We all know the solution. Segregation is a problem. Anywhere on earth, where you decided to enforce especially, there's a Chinatown, they choose to segregate. Because they're comfortable, their food is very specific and very important to them, and they're comfortable within. There is a segregation that comes natural, but this is an unnatural segregation that you're trying to enforce. The natives were okay with living between Jewish people, between Ashkenazi in Israel. The natives were okay. That's why at the beginning, before Israeli independence, the natives were okay to opening their homes to these newcomers from Europe, the Ashkenazi from Europe. At the beginning, my understanding is Palestinians opened their doors, opened their houses to the Ashkenazi from Europe. Eventually the Ashkenazi took over, and then the Ashkenazi pushed the Arabs out. Why? And then declare independent what? Independent what? We declare an independent gated community of white Ashkenazi on Arabian Peninsula. Why? Because we don't feel comfortable living between Arabs. We need to be segregated. If you don't feel comfortable living between Arabs, why did you left Poland and came to Arabian Peninsula? It says on it, they're called Arabian Peninsula. If you're Polish and you're comfortable between Poles, please go to Poland. If you're Ashkenazi and you're comfortable between Ashkenazi, please go live between Ashkenazi in Hungary and in. Why do you want to forcefully bring your whole tribe over in West Asia and live between brown people in a segregated way? And the whole shit show that goes along with it when you try to uproot people. And you keep pointing down, and you keep pointing at any of these countries that have got their shit together. You point at them and say the problem is them. They're too strong. Sort of like, oh, so you want everybody spread out on their ass, confused and chaotic, like Syria, like Iraq, like Jordan, like Egypt. You want every one of them on their knees and chaotic and confused. And anybody and anyone that is not chaotic and confused, we're going to bomb them until they become chaotic and confused. Or hopefully they have a revolution until we create a chaotic and confused society. And on the other side of the Atlantic, Mr. Tucker Carlson keeps screaming, why are these people, brown, black, and yellow, and red people from these chaotic places around the world, why they end up in my doorstep? And Mr. Witkoff has to explain that because we expelled them. Why did you expel them from that land? Is because Brooklyn was not enough. Salute.